world was so damn fragile. I was looking at life through a fog. I lost my baby girl and they killed my dog. I was laying on the bottom feeling sad, thinking about doing bad things, raging fucking mad. I couldn't understand why I was chosen. Then it led to my rage and explosion. I am the one who can make this better. It's my job to make things right. I need to pick myself up. It's time for my biggest fight. Wrap your kids in the Bible. Wrap your kids in the flag. CPS is from the devil. Y'all know that it's a fact. I'm a father that went to jail. I cherish my daughter. It was nothing when they come for her and me. There should have been a slaughter. Stand with us. Make parenting great again. Abolish CPS. Ambush with the black SUVs. They come armed, they came for me, and they came for her. Stand with us, make parenting great again, abolish CPS. They took her from me, she's across the state. Gone for a year now, taken away. All these people who have written me off, I'm here to show my face and tell you you're wrong. I never was as good as you, and for the record we know that's not true. I'm not trying for a comparison. How dare you, you're embarrassing. I don't wanna be as good as anyone else. I fight this battle, I fight for myself. I am the one who can make this better. It's my job to make things right. I need to pick myself up. It's time for my biggest fight. I don't care about your judgment, I'm glad you gave us this test. But when your life is over, will your heart sleep quietly in your chest? I've got more life to live. As a matter of fact, it's just beginning. I've been given a challenge and my daughter is waiting. It's a fight I can't walk away from, a new life we are creating. So why you sit there mouth full of hating? Be sure my mind is planning on invading. I've got a war to fight and I'm on. I won't give up, I need to win, this is bigger than you. I don't expect you to understand. I am the one who can start over. It's my job to make things right. I need to pick myself up. It's time for the biggest fight. I won't be left behind. This is the time, I call it mine. Step out of the way unless you wanna play Trump. Stand with us. Make parenting great again. Abolish CPS. There is no time for bickering. The clocks are flickering. Pick up your weapon and join me. If not, go back to ignoring me. I will be on top. Pistol going pop, pop. Money falling from my pockets. You'll still be lying on dockets. So fuck you.
That's me in the very beginning. Now I am a baby and getting zoomed from my mom to my birthday. I don't remember a lot about my younger life, but I remember it was fun and I felt so safe. My mom and dad always happy. I guess my mom's sister was mad that my dad was so great, so she called the police and said he hit my mom. We were all reading and they came. I heard my dad yelling, "There, no way!" My mom was crying loudly. Some lady took us away. The court said my parents abused and neglected us. They only loved us. The caseworker lied. I never saw my parents again. I'm still hoping one day they come. I am a victim of CPS and so are my parents. We need to find justice in all of this madness for all of us that are being abused. It's not fair. Every kid I know has a mom and dad. I know they miss me. I bet they fight every day for me to come home.
Don't get caught like us. Know your rights.
In the United States, CPS makes upwards of $3 billion per day on trafficking and selling our children. The corruption may start with the caseworker, but goes through the judicial system, passing the governor through the Senate and into the White House. The entire system has a hand in the business known as CPS.
Our children are stolen every minute of a 24-hour day. They are being robbed of their innocence, their trust, their happiness. As parents, we are isolated and betrayed by a government we trust. States are balancing budgets on kids' lives. Only 12% of the kids taken will be reunified. Title IV funding is being riveted with fraud.
We need to stop CPS and abolish CPS.com is leading the way. Join us.
What's up, everybody? This is CPS Punisher, CPS Victims Hunting for Justice. I'm your host, like I just said, the CPS Punisher. We got the chat over here on the right like we usually do. We got all this good stuff, but let me read this for you guys. The Children's Bureau shall be under the direction of a chief, to be appointed by the President with the advice and consent of the Senate. The said Bureau shall investigate and report to the Secretary of Health and Human Services upon all matters pertaining to the welfare of children and child life among all classes of our people, and shall especially investigate the questions of infant mortality, the birth rate, orphanage, juvenile courts, desertion, dangerous occupations, accidents and disease of children, employment, legislation affecting children in the several states and territories, but no official or agent or representative of said bureau shall, over the objection of the head of the family, enter into any house used as a family residence. What y'all think about that one? Let's get everybody out of here.
Me.
Gentlemen.
Hello,
Oh, shit.
Darren. How are you? Darren, how are you?
Good. Let's get everybody in here. Here we are. How are we doing? What y'all think of that?
You doing?
How you doing, Vinny?
Doing all right, Herbert. How about yourself, sir?
That's something,
Well,
right?
I think
Oh, who's that? Gunner? How you doing,
Sir.
Gunner?
doing
How are you, Gunner?
good. One day at a time, Herbert.
How's your health holding up?
One day at a time. One
Okay.
day at a time. That's all we can do.
That's my
I think we're now exposing the depth of the damage the Chevron doctrine did by them calling themselves specialists and picking and choosing what they can follow and what they cannot follow. I believe CPS is one of the wildest agencies that took advantage of the Chevron doctrine, which is now overturned, and
But
case law must be followed.
Well, hold up, because this has nothing to do with Chevron being overturned or any case law. This is just simple fact that these outline these things that we're discovering have been in here since 100 years. They're not allowed to take our kids, whether they overturned a case or not. Yeah, that was beneficial, but the fact of the matter is, they've never been given the authority to remove our kids. Period.
Now,
No matter what
it's
was
only
overturned.
by us doing that in contract law and being pulled
Right.
into state courtrooms with under contract law, because it doesn't operate under anything else, under codes and statutes. But then it falls back to the question that comes back: if that's true, well, then all codes, rules, and regulations are for government only and not for the living man, the people.
Well, that's
Therefore,
true,
half
too.
the things these states are saying that are states that you're breaking, or the things you're doing, are all codes, and they don't apply.
Well, statutes and codes aren't supposed to apply to us. I mean, the people.
Exactly.
Statutes and codes are
I'm
made for
agreeing
the
with you
government.
100%.
Mhm.
So why is it when you get a ticket or you go into a courtroom or anything else, you have violated a state code? Well, that doesn't apply to me.
Mhm.
But once again, that goes back to, and some of it can trace to, because there has been arguments, and I remember seeing one in Supreme Court where the state took and says, well, they're not a living person. They are property of the state, hence the Social Security. Their feet landed on paper first. That was the argument, versus American soil, making them property of the corporation, which there is a difference between a certificate of live birth versus a birth certificate. If you go into the history of that, they are two different documents and recognized
But
differently.
this is just plain English,
by the
Gunner.
federal government
This
as well.
This is none of that bullshit. This is plain English. Here, this is section 1101. This part here, right here, is 1101. Social Security Act.
I'm not
1101.
arguing the fact that it's
Look at
there.
this. This says this. Nothing in this act shall be construed as authorizing any federal official, agent, or representative in carrying out any of the provisions of this act. To take charge of any child,
which is dates all the
to
way
take
back.
charge of any child over the objection of either of the parents of such child, or the person standing in loco parentis to such child. They can't do what they've been doing, and it says that in both of these things.
And we are being coerced and forced into, under contract law, or coming into their courts. By even coming into their courts, You're giving them
Well, let me ask
jurisdiction.
you guys this
Is their
question.
viewpoint.
Is this why we can't beat them in court? Because we don't even know truly what the rules and the laws are itself? Is this why we can't win in court? Because we don't know things like this that exist?
Yeah. You got to remember, everybody's gone to this Google, this new digital platform. Before there was that, we had books, papers, everything was organized, even all the way back to the Library of Congress is where this sits. Okay. The problem is it's so digital, not everything has been digitalized. There are laws on the book, both state and federal, that still exist. If you don't believe me, look up weird sex laws for your state that are still on the books for your state legislation.
Can't wear socks in bed.
I mean, that's one great topic.
But
yeah, I mean, you can't pet a goat after a certain time of night, and some of these other things.
Well, ask a guy that went to
only one
Afghanistan, he'll
position
probably
is
tell you why.
authorized for the state. Well, that's but see, a lot of those are on the books because we're not doing our checks and balances, and that's auditing things every once in a while. What still applies? What things don't apply? Obviously, if we're going to talk about, we'll say every day it does apply to the Amish to buggies and horses, but you're not going to have laws or anything else like that. But we've changed from having this to automobiles to electric vehicles, so now we have to redefine.
Hear this again. Nothing in this act shall be construed
update them
as authorizing any federal official, agent, or representative in carrying out any of the provisions of this act. Hear what that says. Nothing in this act shall be construed as authorizing. So there's nothing in the Social Security Act that's saying that nothing in the Social Security Act should be taken as it's giving the authority to any agency whatsoever to remove and take control of a child.
Now that's
so they've got it all wrong.
Federal funding, but they're operating under the state rights. The states have even wrote. Now listen, this goes down the rabbit hole too. Do you realize when the states created CPS and gave them the power that they have today, they are actually interfering with a constitutionally free elected sheriff. That's interfering with the duties of a sheriff when they did this. Matter of fact, a lot of states are giving rules or are telling these sheriffs, if you have anything to do with kids, it goes through CPS. You're affecting an elected official. A state doesn't have the right to take and do that. Why? Because your sheriff's office and its duties and responsibilities are set out federally and by the Constitution. I want you to think about that for a minute. Even though your sheriff is elected in your county, in your state, he is your local representative that is supposed to be defending your constitutional rights against state government officials. When was the last time you heard a sheriff arresting a district attorney?
Sheriff of Nottingham.
Yes. Or, wait a minute, governors, judges. Here's another thing I went down a rabbit hole. Do you know why there's a sheriff's deputy posted in those courtrooms? Because they are part of the checks and balances, because they are supposed to know the Constitution. Even if a judge violates the Constitution, he is that person in position there to arrest whomever in that courtroom to make sure that that courtroom is constitutionally sound. Your sheriff's office has been intimidated and or they've just thrown the people under the bus, but that's why they're there. But you're watching them stand there while these judges do all this illegal shit, such as your job as a judge or magistrate is to do a constitutional audit on every case that comes in. Well, how many things do you come into CPS why they don't do that? Why? Because you got a Fourth Amendment violation 99% of the time. Which would mean what? What would apply? Fruit from a poisonous tree means your case shouldn't go fucking anywhere.
right?
It's dead before it started.
So let's revisit this. Where did they get the authorization from now to remove your child? Where did they get it from? Because if this says here that no government agent, well, this says that the Social Security Act shouldn't be construed as a weapon to authorize these agents. But that other statement from Title 42 states that if the family member objects, the head of the family objects to anything involved with this, then there is to be no bothering of the family. So where is it that they came up with the way that they interfere and they authorized themselves to have where do they give themselves the authority to come into our homes and take our kids?
They created its own authority.
But that does not supersede the federal government.
Once again, I'm not disagreeing with you. But this is the argument too that every state is having is who's responsible for overseeing this group?
Well, I'm actually looking for the actual document here. Like, there's got to be something somewhere where this.
Darren.
Yes, Vinny. What do you got, Vinny? You're hot over there.
Title 18, C 9204, termination of parental rights.
Go on, Vinny.
Petition for termination, adoption petitions brought solemnly by a parent. A petition for termination of parental rights may be brought in the court in which a petition for adoption is properly filed as part of that petition for adoption. A petition for termination of parental rights may not be included as part of a petition for adoption brought solemnly by other parents of that child, unless adoption is sought to confirm the percentage status of the petitioner's parent. The parent must consent to the termination of a judge.
No.
They must consent to the judges saying that they're trying to
terminate,
do the parental right termination. Right. You have to consent for it. If you do not consent, they cannot hold anything.
But they do. Intimidation. Matter of fact,
but it's in their own laws.
I'm agreeing, Vinny. I'm not arguing. This is called mass corruption. That's the reason it's called what it is.
This is called
you have got a group of select people that have penetrated state governments across this nation. And Darren and I have talked about this in depth too, possibly even to the point of getting the law librarian in every state. If you get control of that position and that one office is corrupt, can you imagine when they bring stuff to that law librarian saying, this passes the mustard, this is constitutionally sound, this is okay with the Constitution of the United States, and it's okay with our state, what we believe and everything else, and it lines up? What if your mass corruption is by penetrating not a bunch of offices, but the one that controls everything with the laws and how they're written and how they're approved and how they get the stamp of approval to even become codes or statutes in there? They're not constitutionally sound, and we've already proven that. And how many other laws or other things that are passed or rules that they have that are not constitutionally sound, that they're not going to the law librarian? What if your law librarian in every state has been penetrated by, well, you can call it whatever you want, the deep state, the corporation, whatever it be, you control that one office. You control a whole lot of power, and all you're doing is stamping things saying approved. That's all they got to do all day. I mean, to be honest with you, you look at half the codes and the things that CPS does, police departments do, and some of the other things that they do, they're not constitutional. And when they're brought to a federal courtroom, they lose every single time. But here's what they do. It's a trick. It's a game of money once again, because it's better to pay somebody off that does catch them every once in a while and have them sign a non-disclosure agreement. In other words, you can never use what you found out and share with anybody else once you sign that. That turns around and you void that contract, and they can come after you because you signed a contract.
Hey, Tammy. Hey, Tina.
So that's how they get away.
So I got to read this though, because this is where a lot of us parents are going to get these fucking guardian ad litem. And I found this under the main legislative page for up here at least. Okay. It says under the guardian ad litem, interviews with the parents, guardians, teachers, and other persons who have been involved in caring for the or treating the child. This has not been done in our case. That bitch has never met with anyone.
I had the same thing, Vinny, with ours when we went before the magistrate. All the guardians.
Right there is a direct violation of their own policy under that same title.
What's a violation of the court? Because your guardian ad litems are usually they first appoint them to you, but they never tell you have the option to change them. There's the other.
It's well, see, that's where it's screwed because this is weird. Guardian ad litem for child. The court may appoint a guardian ad litem for a child who is subject to a petition for termination of parental rights under subsection 1. The appointment must be made as soon as possible after the petition for termination of parental rights is initiated. Ours wasn't initiated until the last time we went to court. So why was this bitch on this case the entire time? If she's not working for the state of Maine, she's working for CPS.
Yep. You're going to find a lot of those classification for guardian ad litems and or CPS. They have a special classification. I'm coming to find out, in other words, they work as nothing but guardian ad litems, and that's all they do. That's their prime job.
Not this one.
Well, I'm just saying that some do private practices and some do that, but also understand too, to be a guardian ad litem, you have to have a license from that state as not private, but public. And if that license doesn't say public, that's just like the one I was telling you about that just became the magistrate, still has an active license in the bar. That's illegal. You can't. Once you cross that threshold to magistrate, judge, all those other things.
Practice law.
Can't practice law. You can't have your license active. You have to contact the bar before you even take your first case. You have got to call the bar and change that status, and they will put it in. There's a special classification. I forgot what it's called. It's not suspension, but it's kind of like limbo for judges and stuff like that. So if they retire, then they can come back. But now you're talking about, they all benefit from these systems too. You got to remember, guys, this activates what? Separation of families, which does what? Child support. Well, that's already been ruled, separation of powers issue, unconstitutional. But every state's still doing it. Why? Because they're not holding them accountable.
We'll see about that.
Catch me if you can. And then they get kickbacks off of it because then the money for the administrative fees in a large majority of the states goes towards those county judges' retirement funds.
Let me put this in more layman terms for you, so you understand what I've been up to. Not only have I been working on the things that I've been working on in the background, I've also been taking screenshots of everything that is going on in the social media platforms, and I've been sending that along with these TPR things by the bar to Mr. President Trump.
So
what kind of stuff were you snapshotting, Vinny? What kind of what type of stories were you snapshotting?
The corruption and the entire government of Maine, from the police officers all the way up.
Okay, that's good. And you sent it through that email thing?
I've sent it to other things. I've reached out to the head attorney general, Ms. Bondi, through the DOJ. I've reached out to the DOJ as well in civil rights. I've reached out to the media sources that I'm affiliated with. And I reached out to a couple other people as well that I'm not going to let anyone know who I reached out to,
That's fine.
because that is.
You don't have to let us know. But are you getting any responses? Are they at least acknowledging you sending them stuff?
I'm sure they are, because I've been seeing replies back
That's what I mean.
on
Okay.
one of the.
So you've been getting replies back, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's good. Very good.
And you notice that there's a new executive order that went into effect as of today.
Tell me about the executive order that went into effect as of today.
You already seen it. It was posted in the chat.
Man, I'm just telling you, man, this stuff is just.
I was in the chat today.
Well, you better start paying attention to her.
I have to look at the chat
on things, because
when I get off the show.
Man, you got 2 years full of information.
It's just that today I didn't see it. I will see it when we get off the show. I'll look at the chat area. I look at the chat every evening.
And
I actually input stuff into the chat. Do you see some of the things
I don't know if you guys saw, but RFK was live earlier, on YouTube live, talking about DHHS, and that's something you guys will all want to go back and watch, because from what I was hearing in there, you really need to know as parents what has been really going on.
Well, see, I think the timing's just about perfect, and that's why, Darren, I'm going to get together with you after the show, and we're going to get together on some stuff we got going on, because I think that's about perfect timing, is to pop them with everything, and just hey, you want that? Well, here's everything you need. I think we've done enough.
Have you got? I know Darren's noticed, and I know a couple of us also have noticed. Notice that our numbers have dropped for a reason. They are censoring us because the media knows that all of us are on to what they are doing and how they are censoring us, and the things that they have gotten away with doing that they're not getting away with no more. And they're starting to realize, shit, we screwed up, and now they're coming for us, because they are going to do a actual audit of every single media outlet, and it's coming.
Oh, there's a lot of things, and like I said, it's what's available. Remember, it's not what we can say, it's what we can prove in a court of law.
That's right.
We can talk about it all day long, but that's why I tell a lot of people.
Right.
It's listen, we can talk here all day, but until we get our cases filed, our stuff on the record, and everything else in there, and start doing those particular things, and then getting that presence and that knowing of, we got you, and then they can't keep you quiet, because you got to understand, you're wearing two hats with some of the stuff we do. We're press, but we're also involved in the case, so there's nothing you can't say that you listen. I'm working on my case. And if something's going on and you're in federal court saying, listen, we covered this today in federal court, and those hearings are open to the public. You guys have every right to watch them or see them. But I guarantee you they're going to try everything they can to block it.
Yeah.
But there's a good possibility I'm going to request, as a member of the press, is to probably have a GoPro or something like that in the courtroom to record it every day, and play it back live on a channel that we may do a special on that when we get to that point. That way you guys can see some of that stuff in the courtroom, what it's like, and what it's like to go sue juris pro se. Because a lot of people are pushing, listen guys, a lot of people are pushing federal lawyers, but you hear some people say you got to find an old timer federal lawyer. I don't know why. A federal attorney, his first thing should be to the duty of that Constitution. It's part of their damn oath. Why isn't it? Why aren't they doing this? It's like, okay, an oath. I mean, we don't take oaths as seriously as what we used to, but we need to remind them what an oath is. That means your livelihood, your freedom, and everything else is here with the position you're taking of authority. You could lose everything you got, you screw up. but they're so
So
well protected.
I want to give you guys some a little bit of what I said in one of these and two of these messages. And one, I want you to take precedence because this is the one that's going to hit home more. Okay. CPS needs to be torn down and rebuilt. They are doing as they want, violating constitutional rights left and right. So are the district courts and clerks, also with the help of their statutes that got passed without we the people saying the Constitution reads we the people, then our sitting president, does it not? So why is CPS DHHS being allowed to violate parental rights, our homes, and trying to terminate our rights on hearsay, BS, and coercion, manipulation? This agency is on so many levels wrong. We the people demand a order to halt CPS and district courts be shut down and investigated for crimes against our country, crimes against we the people, and crimes against our Constitution. As we the people and the parents, I put at the very end, we want treason and sedition on their heads.
Listen,
Yep.
when the states created CPS to get a hold of this money, they weaponized and they honestly interfered with a constitutionally elected sheriff's duties. Matter of fact, there was one going around. Guys, you can look this up. There is a federal statute for sheriffs across this nation because it is constitutional and it's federal. But the problem is all these sheriffs have been bullied by state and elected officials, judges, everything else, to where they don't even know what their duties are anymore. Because if they realize the power they have,
one of those duties is the militia.
Yes.
Yep.
An active militia ready to rock and roll at a moment's notice. How many states in your states does the government have local militia meetings once a month? Now, I guess we could assume that maybe they possibly call the National Guard the militia. I don't know if that's maybe they've fattened the trim.
Some have tried to redefine that, but it has nothing to do with we the people.
I think we the people know who to call on, and they're the only ones out of all the audit that pass with flying colors.
Listen, I've got a better chance of surrounding myself with good people I know, I trust, have similar interests in protection and understand the Constitution, that is willing to grab their pistol or rifle to defend that right. And a lot of them, and to be honest with you, people say, well, oh, that's extreme or that. That's every fucking veteran, you dumbass. You better wake the fuck up, because I'll tell you one thing. I'll be straight up with you. Go get you a fucking jarhead and ask him about it. He'll fucking pound you in the fucking pavement if you fucking violate his rights or the rights of somebody else. And they get very well educated. They're not stupid.
They're white, completely
but
white.
You got to understand that is drilled into them. You live on a base, it's drilled into you what that Constitution means. But you don't get it in public school. Why do you think they're doing what they're doing? This has been planned, guys. This is Operation Paperclip, whether you like it or not, a conspiracy theorist, this or that. This is Operation Paperclip coming to fruition. That's what we're seeing. Them coming in and taking control. Softly. We're giving it over softly. We're allowing them to do this. If you realize a cop,
I'll be your huckleberry.
we're going to talk some serious now, because we're going to talk constitutional, and it's not going to be pretty. But these are the cold hard facts. If a cop, deputy, anybody, or state worker, anybody comes and breaks into your home with no warrant, court order, or an emergency, as they're articulating that, you have the legal right to defend your home with the Second Amendment, which is why it was created, was for tyranny like this. Social worker comes in, yanking your kids, and you're allowing it to happen, there'd be 3 or 4 dead social workers. No court order, no warrant, you're here with kids. Bang, bang, bang. Your immunity's gone. I'm sorry, that's no different. And the law, and they'll say, oh, well, you have to go. No, you change jurisdictions right to a federal court because it's a constitutional issue. And they're going to wrap you up in a state court. All you got to do is file. And guess what? They've got no power to stop you to change jurisdiction. Why? Because there's constitutional issues. You bring it up in the survey. Hey, if a Fourth Amendment came in and none of these existed and they crossed the threshold into my home, is that a constitutional right? And do I have a constitutional right to protect my home with the Second Amendment? You know what that federal court's going to say? The same thing it has said over and over again. You are 100% correct. Most people that are sitting in state jails right now is because they have attorneys that failed them and did not take and deal with constitutional issues and hold them accountable. Because I can tell you there's courthouses now that, because of what they have going on and the things and policies they have in place, makes all of them null and void. Criminal and civil. Now what are you going to do? And that building's been there for what, 10, 15 years? Now what are you going to do?
So, since you want to speak on that, okay, I'm going to get you. You ready?
Come on.
All right. What are the main primary cases relevant to case law?
Yeah, Obsidian just went over this. That last episode. What are they, Vinny? List them off.
All right, you ready?
Yeah, what are
Troxel versus Grantville. Satucci versus Kramer. Myers versus Nebraska. Griswold versus Connecticut. Katz versus United States.
What do these have in common?
They're all in violation of RICO. Every single one of them.
RICO statute. Because they're cooperating. CPS and the courts are cooperating to make money for the state and the county. The state is intimidating your local sheriffs, interfering with a duly elected sheriff's duties. The states are. I think that's going to be one of our arguments as well. That we're going to have a federal court do on it. Why? Because your sheriff is a duly elected sheriff out of the Constitution. Therefore, it makes it a federal matter. The state courts don't have the authority to make those rulings. It's subject jurisdiction. They don't have subject jurisdiction.
And this is where you got them. And they can say no, all they fucking want, because this is true. Okay. Psychological impact. Okay. Let me read this to you, because then you're going to fully understand. The actions of the defendants caused severe emotional distress to both parent and child, constituting cruel and unusual punishment under the 8th Amendment.
Oh, once you start stacking constitutional stuff, it's not hard, especially in these CPS cases, to stack multiple constitutional rights violation, and your family attorney only has a private license to practice, more than likely, in just that state, and doesn't have a federal license, and they want your money. No, we'll just fight it in the lower courts. If you've got a constitutional issue from the very first time you set foot in court, you change jurisdictions and you notify that court immediately. Your Honor, I've got a Fourth Amendment violation. I'm notifying you now. You cannot proceed forward with doing anything, not a temporary restraining order, not this, not that. I'm filing and changing jurisdictions on constitutional rights violations. But people don't know how to do that. And the attorneys, when this happens, they go to the attorneys, and the attorneys tell them, oh, we'll just fight it, or let's work with CPS. And they're all fucking conditioned. Not one of them wants to have the fucking cojones. Well, I got to go back in front of that judge or magistrate next week, and I don't want to piss them off. Fuck that judge, magistrate. That's your job. Your job is to make sure and hold that judge accountable. That's called checks and balances.
And in case anyone's wondering what a RICO statute is, look under 18 USC S 1961, 1968.
Two or more
And you
people
will find it.
conspiring, two or more people that conspire to injure you either financially, emotionally, physically, in any particular way is what the RICO standard is summarized as. Two or more
Yes,
people.
sir.
Well, how many people are on your CPS case? That's an automatic RICO. That and the supervisor. Now involve your
A hell of a lot
CAC
more than
center.
two in my case.
Oh, yours goes on and on.
We had one, two. We had the initial person, then we had her supervisor, then we had the caseworker, her supervisor, another caseworker, another caseworker. Now we're back to a worker that we had before that they said was fired, but she's all of a sudden back on the case.
Yeah, that's completely.
Do you really think that bitch is going to get you anywhere either? Because she didn't do her job the last time.
Listen, none of them do their job, and that's the problem they don't want is accountability. And the reason CPS has been out of control is because nobody wants to take responsibility for it. Either the federal government or the state. This is an ongoing argument with government of who's responsible for looking after them. To be honest, it's the state's position. The state is supposed to make sure they're compliant with the federal things to get the federal money, which they don't go through and do. They half-ass everything. And once again, you want to have that conversation and say, I'm slandering you. Guess what? Take me to the fucking courthouse and I'll show you the evidence in all 50 states. I can show and prove that in a court of law. Please, I dare you to bring me to that fucking point. I mean, I'm that guy that's sitting back there. You know that guy that you see on there that says, man, don't give this dude a ticket because he's looking to do it all the way to the federal courtroom. And that guy that gets on there that talks real fast with the hat, and the glasses that go down here and he talks real fast. He does a lot of webinars and stuff like that. Older gentlemen like this and that, but he'll sit there and tell you about all your rights and this and that. And it's like, you're fighting in the wrong courtroom. That's the first thing he tells you.
That's proof. That's proof that I have eyewitnesses because that's my mom.
Now, who's Luann? Who?
That's
it says somebody.
That's Vinny's mom.
Oh, Luann.
That's my mother.
Oh, okay. I was going to tell you she's trying to get a message to us.
Yeah.
Yep, that's my mom.
Well, listen, Vinny's mom. We are so sorry. We greatly appreciate all you've done with Vinny and the best you've done. He's just, it's just Vinny. That's okay. We love him. Either way, he's a likable guy. I know you dropped him on his head a few times or, let him play with the dog a little bit too wrong. And maybe you had to tie a piece of steak around his neck to let the dog play with him. I don't know. But shout out to moms out there taking to deal with these things. Thank you. It does take a support system, guys. When you fight CPS, is to have family there that believes in you, that knows you, that's willing to go in the fight, that's willing to turn around and call bullshit, even those that know constitutional law and some of the other things. Guys, shout out to your support systems. I mean, and Vinny, right there, man, what a hell of a support system that your mom's on board, as well as your spouse and everything else, guys. This is so important when you fight CPS is to have a good support system. Making sure you're not going, because listen, there's some dark times coming. If you're just getting involved with them or you've been involved with them for a while, they play psychological warfare and they literally browbeat you down to make you feel like you're the most terrible person. You've made huge mistakes. You've done all these things, especially mothers out there. You're a bad mom. You're not doing this and that. And here's the thing. The government doesn't have the right that unless you've committed a crime to even come around and analyze you. This isn't China, people. This is America. Mm-hmm. When CPS comes to this and that, fuck off. Those are my constitutional rights. Mm-hmm. Those are my kids. Name one kid that the government has produced. Name one.
Well, Gunnar, with the new administration that we have now, I believe there's going to be changes coming within weeks, not even months. Weeks.
Okay, I agree that some will do. But this is only what they can see. They're not in the trenches like we are. You've not seen
No.
the amount of
Joe.
corruption, is what I'm saying. From the high up, you're looking down. You're not in the valleys. You're not this. You're not climbing. Listen, I've been in the valley of the valleys, to the tops, to the downs, to everywhere in between, till you get to the point you know you got them, and you're just getting ready to break over that hill, to where you turn the thing around, and you've got them on the fucking run. And when they do that, they're going to start doing this. They're going to find somebody to blame, and they're going to shift blame between the judges, the sheriff, the CPS worker, anybody involved, because nobody wants to take and have accountability, and they're all going to point fingers. And that's why CPS caseworkers are the easiest ones to get rid of, and everybody's safe. You just blame it on the caseworker, and these caseworkers don't even realize they're being used as pawns, sacrificial pawns, on the game, on this board of chess, and have no idea.
Darren, you got to stop looking at the other computer screen, man.
With the thousands of complaints around the United States that's going into DC, I believe within a matter of weeks, you're going to see a lot of changes.
I think you're going to see some changes, but listen, this stuff we're talking about, that we're discussing on this show, is a cancer upon America. And the only way to deal with it is gut it and cut it all out. Every last little bit, till nothing exists. Because there's been too much brought in there with lobbying, people paying people off. Clear the deck across, because that's what it's going to do with the evidence, is clear everybody out. And now you have to have special elections. And then, listen, then these paid power companies like the Republican Party or the Democratic Party don't have time to come up with a spin candidate. You realize how fast all their people and influence and lobbyists are gone? Could you imagine that? All new people elected, everything else. They don't have time to buy people. Then you protect that new Congress and Senate from that bullshit. And then you get some shit done. Do I think the new administration is going to do some things? Yes. But
I believe the new administration is going to do a lot of things. I think that the new administration will have. I believe the new administration is going to have a lot of impact, and I think there's going to be a lot of kicking and screaming, because we're on this show, and all over the United States, people are singing the same song we're singing, and that's going to hit the right departments, and things are going to come down. It's going to be changed. Heads are going to be rolling. Heads will be rolling.
I appreciate your perspective, but once again, you forget the one part. It's not about elected, appointed officials and actors and anything else. It's about what we, the people, do. We, the people, are the government. We have the power. And until we speak up, not our elected, appointed officials, they're not our voice. They're supposed to be our voices. But when they fail, it is the duty upon the Constitution for we, the people, to stand up and hold them accountable.
Yes, sir.
That's the Constitution. They knew this was going to happen.
How do we stand up for this new administration? How do we stand up and hold them accountable, Gunnar? How do we stand up and hold them accountable?
Just like we are. Just like we're doing.
Okay, so then we should develop a militia.
How do you do it? Okay, let's go through government.
Develop a militia.
Can you do it through the executive branch? What it was created for. Can you do it through the legislative branch? Well, yeah, you can have nice laws and things passed if you talk to anybody else. But where's the accountability found? It's in your judicial branch, in your third branch of government. That's your checks and balances. When these others fail, your lawmakers and this person and that person, that's what your court systems are for. To weigh things up, to make sure we have a good point of view within this nation, that it aligns with the Constitution. And it fucking doesn't in any fucking state.
Mm-hmm.
And they're stealing our children, and we're standing by, not using our Second Amendment. And it tells you how pacified we've been mind controlled to be so fucking passive. Why didn't you take out a gun and shoot these bastards when they come for your kids and broke into your house with no warrant or court order? I'd rather deal with that in a case, because then it's all of a sudden you meet the high registers, because then it's going to be the burden upon the state. We're going to charge you with murder for what? The guy didn't have a court order or warrant or anything. Your case is done before it started. That was a legitimate home defense shooting. He wanted after my kids and they come to steal it. I don't give a fuck who they work for. When they cross that threshold and they didn't have the proper paperwork as required by the Constitution for due process, you're a basic fucking criminal. And this is what I'm trying to get through to a lot of caseworkers. When you cross that threshold, I don't care if you sweet talk your fucking way in or anything else, that's called fucking coercion. It's fucking illegal.
Yeah.
Without that court order, warrant, or an emergency, and CPS workers, you got an emergency, national standard is to call a police officer because there is imminent danger. Those are the only 3 ways they get in your house. But they've coerced people, even your family members, when you come in. I need to inspect your home. You know what they should turn around and say? Where does that say under my kinship? You got to come into my house. Fuck you. That's a 4th Amendment violation. People that are foster parents, you can't negotiate a kid's life if you have kinship to violate their constitutional rights. But it's in every fucking book that they have to come into the house.
I agree with you. I agree. And the police cannot come in your house unless they can, not unless the police can substantiate imminent, not unless the police can establish and prove imminent danger to the child. They cannot enter your home unless there's proof that there's imminent danger.
What's police procedure? Hold on. What's police procedure on that? Officer shows up, I arrive to the residence. You clock in with dispatch, right? Arriving at residence, consider me, signal 4 or whatever, I forgot what it is. You get done with everything and all this other stuff, and all of a sudden you observe. You have to see imminent danger, and you have to radio it into dispatch. Dispatch, I have imminent danger of a child.
I have to see what's considered.
On dispatch.
I have to see what's considered the complaint. I have to see the complaint and see if it's valid. Or is it a nosy neighbor wanting to get somebody in trouble? Maybe there's nothing wrong with that child.
Well, once again, where does the property start for the 4th Amendment? Because here's the other thing with your castle doctrine. Your castle doctrine in some states just includes your home.
It starts your property.
Some state it includes
on your property.
Now there is usually an easement in certain states, Howard. They have defined the castle doctrine. It's different in every state. It's different. But if you cross that threshold, such as you come on my property, they are allowed a 1 knock, unless you publicly post no warrant, no court order, no entry, castle doctrine, and you post it. It's called a public display of a message, or, and it goes under, there's a whole classification in that in your state laws. Why? Because you can't enter where it says no guns, no knives, no this. Those are called notifications, okay? They're publicly notifying you, and it must be visible from the street, that they now no longer have that 1 knock or 2 knock warrant to come on your house. You're not even allowed to knock at my house if you don't have those, let alone enter. By that being there, automatically states you don't have those, no matter how you coerce your way in. You're not allowed in my fucking house. And if you come in and you don't follow your procedure, I'm going to fucking kill you. And you say, well, that's putting cops' lives in danger. No, fuck that blue line. Let's talk about the Constitution. Why don't you stand up for the Constitution instead of anything else? And that's supposed to be your sworn duty, especially for a sheriff's deputy. That's your position under the Constitution as a deputy under the constitutionally elected sheriff. You're supposed to make sure it's upheld. When tyranny comes and they come to break into your house, what do you think just happened when they broke into your house and you didn't defend it? Sounds a lot like what? Nazi Germany? How did he get the people to get them to convince to give up their guns and their freedoms? Safety of the fucking children. Project Paperclip. Right there, baby. 100%. We're seeing history repeat itself. And if we don't stop this and slam the Constitution in their face, and let's put it this way, I'm going to put it real simple. You need to be bitch slapped with the Constitution and knock the fuck out. Bottom line.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
Now, I may get in trouble. I may get flagged for that. But that is 100%. Yep. You need to be bitch slapped with the Constitution and knock the fuck out.
I think that should be it right there. I think that's the great way.
Because why? That is the supreme law of the land. No state can override it. Every state, even in their own constitution, defers to the Constitution of the United States. That's under contract law. If a state hasn't done that, they violated their contract, which gives the federal government the ability to come in and take over that state because of corruption. All of this is thought in our Constitution and in our laws. Our forefathers, our framing fathers knew this was going to happen. They knew people were going to try and take us over. They knew this. It's only a matter of time. That's why the shit's in there the way it's in there.
It's only a matter of time.
We will be hated for what we do. And then money came in. Corporations run everything. Everything's in the best interest of that. No, these lawmakers are supposed to be making laws to protect we the people. There are representatives. But how many of them turn into fucking millionaires while they're sitting there? Insider trading. Hey, if a person in the real world did the same shit they did in the Senate, you'd be in fucking jail. Why do they get away with it? But it's been happening because the people don't do shit. We knew our fucking voting system was shit. Why didn't we correct it? Oh, this computer. Listen, no. Then you got ballots, people getting caught, still picked up on voter fraud. Michigan, Georgia, all these different places where there's stuff in ballot boxes, destroying ballots, all this shit. Just the release from President Trump. People on Social Security that's 120, 140 fucking years old.
I just want to address Amy.
Then you got a guy like me trying to get on disability that I got to fight for anything I get when I'm fucking disabled because of a bad heart. But CPS and all the rest of these fuckers can get right out of the Social Security fund. Fuck you. I paid into that.
Herbert,
that's part of my contract.
I just wanted to address Amy White. Amy White mentioned about the Castle Doctrine, and I just wanted her to know that it doesn't apply to every state. Maybe it should.
Amy,
Amy, Castle Doctrine.
Amy,
my state has a no retreat.
Herbert, Amy.
She's got a retreat. She's got a retreat. That's why I say check your state.
Amy, what state do you reside? Because the Castle Doctrine may be there or it may not be there.
Gentlemen, Amy knows what they're talking about because Amy is NALAR.
She's what?
Amy is NALAR.
Is NALAR. It's NALAR's under his wife's name.
Okay, well then Maylard should know that not every state has the Castle Doctrine.
A lot of states do under.
No, I said not every state has the Castle. New York does not have the Castle Doctrine. California doesn't have the Castle Doctrine. There's a lot of states that don't have it. Florida has the Castle Doctrine.
Hold on. Every state has a Castle Doctrine. There is a no retreat. In other words, no retreat, no surrender. In other words, this is my stand. It's called a stand your ground state, is what it is. I live in a stand your ground state. I don't have to retreat. I do not have to get to safety or anything like that. There's a lot of colonial states that their Castle Doctrine is you have to retreat. If you see a place to flee from an invader or anything else, you are to flee away from the danger is your first responsibility. You're only to take a life or to do anything like that in the event of its life-threatening and there was no chance to flee. Otherwise, you can be prosecuted for murder.
Well,
in
that's those states
So
are like
yes, I do understand
those
what
states
you're
are
saying,
like
but
New York. You can own a
every
gun
state.
in New York in your house. Somebody's coming through your door. You got a back door. Take your gun and go out the back door.
Yeah, that's a retreat state.
All right, guys. I think we're at
There's
that
There's a
several
point,
lot.
right
states that
there.
are
There's a
called
lot of
stand your
retreat
ground.
states, and then there's a lot of stand your ground states.
Darren.
That is true, but the federal courts have actually taken and stood up for the Second Amendment of saying your house is your home, it's protected, so are your documents, and you have a right to defend them as well as your car or anything else you own. That's federal law. Now states are getting away with stuff. But guys, let's just wrap up. It's been a great discussion this evening. I've greatly appreciated having the conversation. And guys, if you don't know, hit the like and follow to follow us here. We're on multiple other channels that we have. And if you're having an issue with suicide or anything like that, please seek help. Reach out to any of us. We have connections, those things out there. We understand the fight with CPS is very very taxing on your mental, your physical, and your spiritual health. Please seek help. Get you a support system. We've got things and support systems popping up now. I think Sam has a new show. If you guys want to talk with Sam, she's part of a healing group, especially for women. Last time she was a guest on my show, she said that they were working on one for men and fathers. So guys, check that out today. Darren, why don't you go ahead and wrap us up here? Lead it back to our boss man.
All right. Let's do this. What do you think, Vinny? What do you think about all this? I just want to hear you in a nutshell. I ain't heard you say nothing tonight.
Oh well, I'm pushing a lot of stuff out there, and the truth of the matter is this: they have blatantly crossed the line, and now it's blatantly time for we the people to start putting our foot in every single one of these government's asses.
Yep, I agree with you. What about you, Herbert?
I think that we have to believe in ourselves and we have to strive forward. And we need to take action, like Gunnar was saying, understand the Constitution, understand how it applies to our lives in terms of our situations and getting our children back and stuff. And we have to go forth and act on it. Act, act, act. We have to act. Stop talking. We have to act on it.
Yeah, don't talk about it, be about it, right?
Yeah. Your friends don't need it. Your enemies don't believe it. Why talk about it?
That's right. That's right. I love that. I'm going to end this a little bit differently tonight, guys, just because I love this tune so much. Same time, same place. Do it tomorrow night again?
Absolutely.
All right, guys. We'll catch you all tonight. Gunnar, I'll see you after the show.
Take care.
Right.
Later, all.
Get some.
The stories of our families once told by the ones on front of the fire growing old, sharing light on the greatness they created. Everyone listening to every word, no hesitation. The pride you learned of the name you had, it taught you that you were something, never feel bad. You knew the trials and tribulations it took to make you. Your aunt, your uncle, you always knew who was who. Who was who. CPS, when they take the kids away, erase the heritage of the children they have gotten pay. These children don't know where they begin. They sure know the outcome, the end. CPS, you're destroying the family. You think you're making things better. These kids don't know who they are. They will never. In a blink of an eye, you eliminate what's theirs to cherish. There is no imminent danger great enough to annihilate the name of a family and those that it consummate. How dare you take away such an honor for you to get a bonus and arise so much drama. Our kids, their lives erased away. Never will they know who paved the way. They are left empty to never hear the story, who their grandparent were, the sad times and the glory. CPS, walk away. CPS, not today. Please, we beg you. leave the kids alone. God bless you. How do you think you are helping things out? You're causing more pain and agony without a doubt. Why do you want to be the eraser of a family past given by the Creator? CPS, why do you play the role of God while so many families are truly breaking the law, inflicting harm throughout the night? The children are scared to turn out their lights. So go away, don't ever come back. Go away, I want my parents, that's that. I don't belong in a stranger's bed, thinking all night, memories in my head of the only love I once had. It was from my mom and dad. Now I lay alone, listening to strangers fight, never hearing the words I love you, good night. So good job, CPS, you really helped me. Now I'm scared, I'm alone, I don't know who I am. I've been cast away, if I'm lost, no one knows. There is no family to find me. CPS took that away, it's all behind me. When I go to bed every night, I close my eye tight. And through the tears I see my mom and dad, wishing they were here. I am so sad. You ruined my life, who gave you that right? My family loved me, they all said goodnight. Now I'm truly alone, nothing to be happy about, no place to call home. All I know is the time of day. CPS, just go away.